I use when I do my makeup is the Vitamin E Skincare Super Jug Own moisturiser. Just take a little bit. You don't need loads, sort of like that much. And I just apply this all over my skin. The Kiko Face Skin Glow. This just gives you a really nice base. Comes with like a squirty bottle, so I literally just squirt a few bits on. Just do this again with my fingers, and I apply this everywhere. Maybe if you're oily, don't apply this in your oily areas. I use a little bit of the MAC Prep and Prime Skin Base Visage. I literally just use a minimal amount, and I just apply this really in areas that I would get oily. Basically my T-zone. And this will just help keep everything in place. Once my skin's done, I go in then with the foundation. Now, I tend to use the Sheer Glow NARS foundation. I'm kind of a mix between Barcelona and Syracuse, so I tend to mix my foundations together. I do like quite full coverage, but that's because I've got a lot of freckles and I like to have like a smooth, flawless looking skin. So I tend to use quite a bit of foundation, probably about that much. So I just dab it in with my foundation brush. This is just a, this is actually a contour brush from Real Techniques, but I find it quite good for the foundation. So I literally just plonk this on my skin. Now I do avoid going under my eyes because I don't want too much build up of product there, because that's where it can kind of sit into the under eye and the creases. I buff this really into the skin. I do actually take the excess of this over my eyelids as well. Now I'm being careful because I have actually got the remainders of my individual lashes at the moment, but I'm holding on for life here. Okay, so next thing I do is go in with my Conceal and Define Revolution Concealer. Now this is amazing. I actually use the 6.5, which is quite light, but I do like quite a bright under eye. Okay, so next I'm going in with my Fenty Beauty contour stick. Looks like this. This is shade Cocoa. I do find that this product does oxidize a little bit, so I try not to apply too much of this. It's just to sort of give me a little bit of definition before I actually go in with my powder contour, because I actually do prefer a powder contour. I find it lasts longer. Just to give me a little bit of definition, so I try to go down my cheekbone. I just go a little bit around my forehead just to bring that in a little bit, and then I go down the side of my nose like this. Foundation brush that I use when I put my foundation on. So I just literally buff this in. This actually helps blend it as well because there's a little bit of excess foundation on there. I'm just going to pat all of that back in and blend out any lines. Amazing Laura Mercier setting powder. Never ever ever found anything as good as this. It is quite hard to use at first, especially if you're a beginner, because the more you use it can get quite cakey. So I find to sort of like build it. So I sort of put a little layer on and then I really bake it, which I'll show you how to do anyway. So I actually use like a dry beauty blender. This is my powder one and I've got a liquid one as well. So I literally just sort of plonk my sponge in the powder and then I have the lid and I just pat it out in the lid. So I just apply this under my eye, down sort of the side of my nose a little bit. So it kind of looks like this. Obviously we will like buff it out. I don't want it like pressed too hard because I don't want to actually like bring up any of the product that I've actually just done. So you just generally go over where I've just used the concealer with the sponge. I'm gonna just brush off any excess powder with just a big like brush. So now I'm gonna just bake because I do want quite a bright under eye. So I'm gonna go back in again doing exactly the same thing, but just not gonna shake off as much powder. Kind of like do the edges. Doesn't have to be too even. Just sort of like this. Great look, hey? And then going back with my big sort of powder brush, I just use the excess and I pat this into the rest of my skin while that dries under my eye. This just gives you kind of like a dry surface to work with when you go in with the bronzing and the contouring. Sort of if you go in with just sort of like, say like a bronzer, it's just gonna stick like to the skin because the skin's wet, and then it'll be hard to blend out. Over my eyelids as well with the excess on here, just because, can you see like it does crease a little bit? So I'm just gonna go over the edge of my nose but pat the nose rather than actually go in with the sponge. Okay, and then I'm gonna just wipe away all under my eyes. See, it doesn't make any lines. You'd be surprised. People get scared, you know, like they just put it on and then they're like, oh, big white under eyes. Okay, so time to contour. We are going to use the MAC Dark Tan. Looks a bit like this. It has got a bit of an orangey tinge, so I mean, if you're sort of like my sort of colour or darker, this is quite a good colour, but if you're quite fair, then I probably would recommend using like matte bronze. I actually do add in a little bit of the darkest deep as well. I know that looks really dark, but it just gives me a little bit more of a definition. So I'll show you when I put it on. It doesn't actually go on how you think it's going to go on, but it's just like a small little fluffy brush. It does blend really well. I always find you can test brushes quite well by sort of just on your hand and doing sort of circular motions a little bit, and I'm just going to pat that off, and I'm just going to literally use the dark tan to start. Now obviously following the cheekbones, I'm going to start from my ear and I'm going to work my way down. I don't like to start too low because then you end up with like a line around here, so we want to start higher up, and you obviously want to bring these cheeks up, so I go right into the hairline and sort of around here. Now I do also go, it's sort of really where I went with the Fenty Beauty contour stick, just to go over it and just enhance it a little bit more. Go down the side of my nose, just a little smidge there. I don't need too much more on there, but just helps set it as well. I do actually like going under my nose because it kind of gives you that little hook. And with the dark deepest, I'm literally just going to use minimal, pat it off, always pat it off, and I'm just going to sort of like do what I just did but maybe slightly lower and then blend it up. Blusher, which is the Orgasm blush. It's actually really nice because it's got like a iridescent glow in it, so it does help, like, you know, make your skin look really glowy. It's actually a magnetic, so I put it in my magnetic palette. This is always easy as well when I'm going to clients and stuff, you know, just to keep everything in one place rather than getting out so many different boxes. I actually use the same brush as my bronzer brush, and I just apply this sort of on the apples of my cheeks. Is highlighting. So I actually use, it's actually worn away, but it's called Blushing Hearts, and it's by I Love Makeup. It's so affordable and cheap. I actually bought this as a present once, and it was so good I bought it for my kids. So I just use like another little fluffy brush. It looks like this. So it's actually got like a peachy tones to it. I've buffed my brush around all of it, and I try and focus this on all the high points. So, you know, sort of here catches the light, nose, chin, a little bit up here. If you're quite an oily person, I probably would avoid top lip, chin, and up here. Maybe just stick to here. effect, you want to bring your nose up. So I try and just do it sort of here at the top, and then also here at the top. I like doing it across my top lip because it does make my top lip look a little bit fuller. Chin, above the brows, and then again, just with my big powder brush, I always try and blend that in. Next is my eyebrows. So I actually use the NYX Professional Makeup Micro Brow Pencil. I tend to use shade black on myself, obviously I've got quite naturally dark hair, but on my clients I'd probably say my most popular colour is brunette. I'm just going to go over and fill in any sort of sparse hairs. Brush up the hairs here. That'll be enough for me. And then again, the other eyebrow. So I'm basically just following from the bottom line round and the top line round, and then filling in any little gaps. I'm just going to brush through my eyelash extensions. Hanging in there. So I've just applied a little bit of bronzer underneath my eye. I'm just going to go in with my waterproof NYX mascara. Actually, this Primark lip liner called Toast. This is quite a nice one. It's quite a natural nude colour. Just following my natural lip line. Natural, obviously not very natural, but you know what I mean. Always use my Peaches and Cream Bambi lip gloss. Love glossy lips. I suffer with quite dry lips, so I do try and like rub it in a bit, otherwise you get like, you know, like cracky lips. Okay, so last thing is my iconic Prep Set and Glow Spray. As I'm running out, you can tell I use it. Shake it up, and I literally spray this all over my face. Get it all over my top as well.